This week on the RV podcast,
Enough is enough. RVers have had it with campground price gouging.
the BLM wants to charge RVers up to $600 to boondock in the Arizona desert.
Speaking of Arizona, we have the details on a large chunk of highly desirable RV property near Kingman and Route 66 that's going to be sold off in 5-acre parcels later this month.
All this, plus the social media buzz and your questions, coming up in episode 514 of the RV podcast.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Wendland, and this is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer. Hello, my dear.
Hello, Mr. Mike.
Well, we are glad to be with you guys this week. We got a lot to talk about. But before we get too far, we should tell everybody that there's still space available to join us on our next fantasy RV tour.
And the dates are September 5th to October 8th, 2025. And we will do the Great River Tour from northern Minnesota, where the Mississippi River begins, to New Orleans, where it flows into the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, we're going to explore the river's amazing history, the great river towns on its banks, music and food and culture. You can get all the details at rvlifestyle.com/river tour. rvlifestyle.com/river tour. We'll put a link in the description below. All right, we want to get right to the conversation of the week. And this is a topic that really needs to be addressed. It has been simmering all summer.
Our email and social media have been just filled with angry comments from our RVers who are up to here over what many feel is price gouging by RV campgrounds all across the country.
Now, as the demand for camping space has continued to grow after these crazy COVID days we had a couple of years ago, so have prices, and it's insane.
Now it's $100 a night is no longer rare, with $70 a night very common. And on top of that, campgrounds are doing all sorts of other things, charging more on weekends or holidays, adding all sorts of extra charges, like making you pay more to reserve a specific site, making it harder to get a refund when you have to cancel, and charging extra for having friends stop by to visit or to bring along a pet.
And we're not even talking about taxes, state taxes, county taxes, resort taxes, taxes. I mean, it's crazy. And people are getting crazy mad.
And let's get one thing clear right off the bat. Campgrounds are businesses.
And that's important because they're there to make money, not to lose money. It's not a public service. Now, some little county campgrounds are public service, but we're talking about commercial campgrounds that charge in, some state parks as well. But we are not opposed to campgrounds. We love campgrounds, and we understand the plight that they're in.
And many have huge expenses and limited seasons, and they need to cover costs, and their costs are going up fast too.
To be competitive, just think of the stuff they've had to do. They've had to upgrade their internet wireless network.
And many have had to add swimming pools to compete, and leash-free dog runs, build cabins.
We get it. I mean, campgrounds are hard-pressed to afford all of this, and they have to then, obviously, raise prices to afford it. But how much are they raising it?
You know, we want campgrounds to do well and to stay open, or we won't have any place to camp.
Before the internet, you would call a campground, or you just would show up, pay the camping fee, maybe a tax, and go camp.
And then when the internet began, reservations could be handled online, and campgrounds started adding reservation fees. They had to invest in costly software to manage the reservations, and that was the first fee. Just like when ticket sellers do this when you go to a show, and hotels do it, airlines do it. It seems to be a normal cultural thing these days.
But through time, many other fees started getting added to the tab. Now, some in our community said that they fully understand this. It's a free country. Choose to pay it or move on, said one of our social media community posters. Very bluntly, but a good message. We understand it.
Said another, it is a matter of supply and demand. There are a whole lot of new RVers now, and this creates a crunch on the decent campgrounds. I say site X, and so do others. Therefore, a lock fee for that site.
But by far, RVers say that the fees are becoming way too much. So let's break this conversation down a little bit. Let's start with reservation fees.
This is the one most people don't mind paying. Usually the reservation fee is for the whole reservation, but sometimes it is per day, which is when some start to mind. One member said in North Carolina state parks, this fee is $3 per night, and that really starts to add up if you're booking for 2 weeks.
Then there are visitor fees. Some campgrounds charge $5. We've seen as many as $10 for each visitor who comes to see you at a campground. Not necessarily spend the night with you, but just to come visit. Many of our followers said that they understand part of that fee when you're at a resort. You know, if say there's a water park and extra people will make the facilities and the roads busier and they'll be using the pool and all that. They understand that. But many others say they were really bothered by this fee.
If they're having a couple over to their campsite and all they're doing is visiting, hanging out at their rig for a few hours for cocktails.
Said one, I don't believe they should charge more for visitors unless they use the amenities. But to just come to your site, no.
Another comment, visitors' fees make sense if using, pools and shower facilities. However, if somebody's just coming to stop by and say hi and to eat a meal with you and have a picnic, it seems to be a bit of overkill to charge that visitor's fee.
Another fee that everybody's seeing is dog fees. Now, some campgrounds charge an extra fee per dog, or they may allow one dog to camp for free and charge for the second dog. Many said that this fee is usually just $5 or $10, and they understand the park has dog runs or special facilities for pets. But this also bothered a lot of our community members.
One said, I have experienced pet fees, which I don't think should be charged, as I clean up after my dog, and she does no harm to the campground.
Then there are per-person fees. Some campgrounds set a number of adults and children who can be at a campsite, and if there's more than that number, there's an additional charge.
One member was at a campground where only one person was included in the nightly charge. So if you are a couple, you had to pay $10 a day for the second person. And sometimes this applies to campers who have more than one child.
In fact, one member said, another fee is a fee for each child. Some will allow 2 adults and 1 child, and any more children are often $10 per child per night. Both my sons have 4 kids, and that adds $30 a night to the regular site cost. He was a little upset.
Vehicle fees. Some campgrounds charge you if you have a car. From members, campgrounds in places like Minnesota are charging an extra $10 per night for their car because it wasn't hooked up to the RV as a tow vehicle.
Said another person, Colorado charged an extra $10 per night for the RV and $10 for the car, which added $80 to our tab on top of the nightly camping rate. And then there's site lock fees.
And this is by far the most controversial one. You make a reservation, you pick out your campsite, but if you don't pay a site lock fee, you may not have that campsite that you chose and thought that you had. If another person comes, makes a reservation, and agrees to pay the camp lock space, or if it helps the campground to move you so they can get someone else into that spot for a longer period of time.
In fact, that happened to us just now, just a couple of weeks ago in Maine. We had booked a specific site, and it confirmed it. And then about a week later, I got my, okay, we expect to see it tomorrow, and this is your site. But it wasn't the site that we had arranged for.
Going over this made me think about this because when we had a Class B NRCs, they were small, and we always were given the little dinky lots on the end.
Dinky
And I
ones.
thought, we were here first, I would like a larger site. And I never gave any thought or consideration to the campground who perhaps had to turn somebody away because they had a big rig and they couldn't fit into that little dinky site. But I used to feel discriminated against, that we were always given the crummy little end spot with all the traffic, and I used to get quite uppity about it.
Well, a lot of people in our community who have been talking about this site lock thing, which has become so common over the summer, they say they can get that. They understand it. They don't like it. But if it's $10, that's fine. But when it's $10 a day or more, one person saw a site lock fee of $100.
Whew.
They think it's excessive. We've got some other thoughts from members.
The lock fee makes sense to me, especially for parks that are routinely full. Way too many people feel free to cancel at the last minute or to be no-shows. Often it's just too late for the campgrounds to resell that site. Either folks will be or be more likely to show up because they don't want to lose the money, or the campground will be able to recoup some of their loss if they don't.
Now, reserving a specific site suggests that in some way a premium site due to size or location or proximity to friends, if that site is reserved, the campground is given up the ability to use it for a larger rig. So I can understand why they'll move that reservation maybe. And they give up the ability to juggle spaces, which all campgrounds try to do so that the most spaces are full at a given time. And they want, obviously, people who are staying longer. They always get preferential treatment. But one of our writers said, if folks care that much about assuring a particular site, there's a likelihood that it's going to cost the campground additional revenue, and they ought to understand that. Good points, I think.
Yeah, I think those are great points as well. Another member said, I think the lock fees are really unfair. If you're going to show me the available sites, then I should be able to choose the one I prefer without paying an extra fee. Otherwise, don't show me the sites, and I'll understand that it's at the discretion of the campground.
I agree with that post. I really do. I understand that it's hard to run a campground, but come on. These are people who pick a campground out, they pick their site, everything is planned, and then they find it's all been changed by the campground.
And sometimes you pick that dream spot right on the water.
Yeah.
And you're so excited about it, and then you get there and that's not where you are.
And you find out that because somebody is going to stay 5 days and you are only staying 3, they get the site. That's just not fair. I mean, it really is kind of a first come, first serve.
Well, I think maybe in the future, do you think we'll see it that you book a site and you don't know what that site is going to be
I think
until you get there?
that is the way it is in many campgrounds, and I don't like it.
And when we went out east, this last trip that we had, and we were kind of grumbling about the price of camping sites.
Oh my gosh.
People who live out east are used to paying more. We're from the heartland. We're from the center of the country, even though we spent most of our life near the big city. Yeah. We're used to a little bit lower prices.
Here's a post somebody had about these new fees, and I think they summed it up pretty good the way a lot of people feel. It says, I do not like the use of the new fees for locking in sites or for dogs. When you're already paying $100 a night, again, which is becoming not that uncommon, and then you add in those fees, it's too much. There are still other fees out there.
Many state parks increasingly have one fee for residents and another fee for non-residents.
Now, we talked about that a week or so ago, and there's a case to be made for both. We understand that. But, so many of the state parks are in desirable areas, and they have tourism campaigns. Come visit our stop, come camp here. And then you find that, you're paying a rate way different than residents. That upsets people, too. On top of all the state park fees are raising because state parks are fixing their infrastructure. Then there's another kind. Cancellation fees. They're going up.
And that one doesn't bother me that much because often the fees aren't that much and people feel very comfortable. Well, we'll give it a good shot.
Yeah.
And then nobody gets to use that site.
Yeah, I'm okay with
cancellation fees, that doesn't bother me.
What do you think about another one? Early check-in fees. They're getting more and more common. And
Ah,
then there's late checkout fees too.
I don't like that.
Yeah, well, if you opt for a site, how about this one? If you opt for a site that doesn't have sewer hookups, that campground can charge you then to use the dump station. We've even seen that. Dump stations have traditionally been free. Now some of them charge you to use the dump station. Crazy.
And that depends on how many days you're staying. And so if you got a lot to dump, they're gonna charge you. They're gonna get their money one way or another.
Well, you have to compare the increase in the nightly costs versus paying for the dump station on the way out. Um, a hidden fee of prohibiting the use. This is another one that I never heard about this until I saw one of our posters. Ari wrote about this. A hidden fee that prohibits the use of dog bones at the electrical pedestal, that allows a
Yeah.
50 amp to run on 30 amp. Ari wrote, he says, we have a 50 amp trailer, but we only need 50 amps when we're running both air conditioners. However, some campgrounds are forcing us to book and pay more for a 50 amp site rather than booking a 30 amp site because we'd have to use a dog bone to connect our plug to their pedestal. It's just another way to rip people off and charge more money. And if that isn't bad enough to make you think about boondocking somewhere, we've got another one for you. Don't think about boondocking being free anymore. So state parks are adding a bunch of fees as well. But listen to this. This just came up last week. And they're asking for public opinion on it, but they're going to push this through. You know the way the government works. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management is seeking public comment on some new recreation fees and land management plans they have for 6 different areas. And guess where that is? Long-term popular areas like Quartzsite and Yuma, where traditionally visitors are out there in the desert. They camp for a reasonable fee. I think you can get a long-term fee. It's like $180 or something. They want to increase that to $600. $600. Now, here's their side of it. And they do have a side of it.
They do. I mean, Quartzsite and Yuma visitors out there have jumped from 4.9 million in 2019 to 6.8 million in 2023, and the Bureau of Land Management says its budget just can't keep up with that.
Now, I don't know what they have to do to that because people are dry camping in the desert. There's not a lot. They do have a dump there that you can come up and use and everything. It's not for every site. But those fees, they want to raise them up to $600 for a long-term stay out there from 180 now. They're going to get a lot of pushback from them. They're going to get it from the town of Quartzsite, which has really, in the last 8-10 years, have really come on the map. I mean, everybody goes to Quartzsite. And there are a lot of people out there in the desert. Same with Yuma, which is one of our favorites. That's where we like to camp in the desert in Arizona. So it's insane. Enough is enough, people are saying, and I think largely they have a really good point. How high, much higher are these prices going to go before people do things like we're going to talk about in a minute from one of our sponsors? People are going to flat and just going to buy their own land and stay there. We have property in Tennessee. That's one of the reasons we did it, because we got sick of all this difficulty of getting in campgrounds.
Everything's just going to go up. Nothing's going to go down. And you say a couple of places they're going to charge. Well, pretty soon it'll be everywhere they're charging. I mean, things don't go down in price.
No, they never do.
They just go up.
They never do.
So, what we did,
we bought land in Tennessee and we put 3 RV sites in there, and I can stay there as long as I want, when I want. And that's a perfect segue into a new sponsor that we're going to introduce today. And how's that? This sponsor is coming on right after we talk about all these campground fees. We didn't plan it this way. It's just the way it showed up. And we're giving you a heads up on this. This is brand new. These are large acreage RV ranches that start at $49,900. 5-acre ranches. They own or finance for pre-qualified buyers. They're going to sell it off on Saturday, September 28th. Starts at 8 a.m. Space is limited. You need to have an appointment to attend. Now, I want to just tell you about these because we visited this area just a little while ago. Just this awesome spot in Arizona. It is so perfectly located right off Route 66 near the town of Kingman, not far from Las Vegas. Easy drive to Vegas, easy drive to the Grand Canyon. You've got all this awesome stuff in Arizona. And yeah, it's in the desert, but it's at a higher level in the desert, so it doesn't get nearly as hot there. It's a little higher altitude. This is really neat, cooler, high elevation, 5-acre ranches. Lots of vegetation, tree cover, 5 acres, level ground, endless mountain vistas, 180 times larger than a typical RV site. That's how big these 5-acre ranches are, as they call them. It's the best of the West, easy drive to everything. What we like about them is they're 100% ownership. There's no HOA, and guess what taxes are?
Tell me.
Under $100 for the 5 acres.
Sounds
Under
good to me.
$100. You've got electric available. You've got nearby shopping in Kingman, where they have hospitals. There's a VA clinic. It's a county-maintained road frontage. You can build, landscape. It's your property, your way. Stay yourself. You can rent them out. You can share with friends and family. You don't have to call anybody and get a reservations. I like what they say. You can play on it now and you can retire on it later. You need to go check this out. We'll be trying to put together a video for Saturday on our YouTube channel that will show this a little more detail. But we just they just came on as a sponsor, and we wanted to get this information out to you. It's pretty timely, being what we're talking about with the campground fees. Here's where you go. Go to ArizonaRVland.net. All one word, ArizonaRVland.net. You can see a virtual tour of the property there. You can make an appointment. It's up to you. You go check it out. It's just an awesome spot. We were there. We loved it. ArizonaRVland.net. All right. That's our new sponsor, and we'll hear more from them next week, I'm sure, too.
So now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer, and Wendy reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV Lifestyle community group.
Hi, everybody. Over in our RV Lifestyle general discussion space, we had a recent post from Greg. Now, Greg's going to be leaving northern Alberta and traveling all the way down to Arizona in late October. And so his question was about water use. He, of course, is going to have his rig winterized being up there in northern Alberta. But once he gets south of the Montana Pass, he was wondering, what do people do about water when it's, kind of hot, kind of cold, and it's that in-between stage, something a lot of our snowbirds are going to be experiencing soon. And so it was a great question. There were some great suggestions. Mark and Brenda, they said they always carry jugs of water for those conditions, as does Bud. And Bud said he uses those jugs for water in the toilet or the sink. And he asked if Greg's holding tank was heated. Sounds like that's something to consider. And then Ari, he said he also carries bottled water for drinking and cooking. But what they do for those gray water things like brushing your teeth or washing your hands is they collect that water in a dish tub and then they dump it somewhere else so that water's not going through their pipes. And then when they use their toilet, they dump, or flush rather, with RV antifreeze. So a couple great suggestions there for those travel days for folks. And then also in our community, in the troubleshooting and maintenance space, we asked people to share some stories that they have of when something broke down in an unexpected way that it was solved. And this was really fun to read because there are things that break down, and I love when there's happy endings, and these all had happy endings. One was from Mary. She lost tire pressure in a very remote area of Utah. That's scary right there to me. She managed to get to the side in a gas station, call for help, and waited for a bit. But then when they got there, her tire, get this, was actually fine. The reason it lost pressure was from an extension piece. So easy fix, and she was on her way. Great surprise ending for her. And then Cindy, she also had quite the story. They broke down at a gas station as well. They were on off Route 66 Casino in Albuquerque, not far from there. And they broke down in front of the gas pumps, blocking 2 different gas pumps, could not move. It's a Sunday afternoon. They called their roadside assistance, 2 different places, couldn't get anybody out there. I can imagine how stressful that would be. So they're standing there, and this guy walks by, and he has an RV tech t-shirt on, and he says, "Can I help you?" And lo and behold, he's an RV tech. Just happened to be walking by. And he got them fixed enough so that they could get away from those pumps, rather, into the campground for the night. And then he came back and fixed everything. And she wrote, "What are the chances of that happening?" So definitely a happy ending with a twist. And then another one was from Eric. He and his wife were camping when the kitchen slide got stuck. They couldn't get it to come back in. And the way that was fixed is his wife was on a Cougar RV group. She explained the situation. Someone said, "Hey, in the storage area, there's a small box with the reset button." So they looked, and lo and behold, it worked, and their problem was solved. Gotta love an easy solution like that. So that was a fun read. And then over in our Facebook group, we had a recent post that got people talking, and it was from Vicky. She took a picture of her paper towel roll completely unraveled, and she wrote a note next to it that said, "Road construction hits differently in a travel trailer." And that is so true. So many people could relate. It had the same thing happen to them. And what I loved about these hundreds and hundreds of responses were there were some great solutions there for Vicky, so she wouldn't have to deal with this again. Some people said they solved this by putting a rubber band over their paper towel roll on travel days. Some use bungee cords. Other people use paper clips. Some use those bobby pins for the hair. Some people got a completely different paper towel roll. You can get one that has a clasp on it to keep everything in place. And some people got a different brand of paper towels. Apparently some unroll easier than others. So great solutions there, and that was a fun read. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you over at our RV Lifestyle community or Facebook group.
The age-old problem of the roll of
Paper
paper
towels.
towels unraveling as you're driving down the road.
Yep. Everybody's got that one.
It's a little annoying thing, but there's lots of good ideas out there on how you can stop that from happening. Otherwise, you get a little motor skill exercise as you roll it all back up again.
Yep. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with the RV questions of the week after this.
When we're asked what's the most important modification we made to our RV, it's an easy answer. Battle-born batteries. Battle-born batteries are quality, safe, reliable lithium batteries that allow us to stay out there off the grid longer. Lithium batteries charge faster, they charge fuller, they're longer lasting, they're maintenance free, and battle-born batteries are protected by a 10-year guarantee. Now, in our case, they just dropped into the existing AGM batteries that we have, and they'll probably be the same on your rig too. Battle-born battery experts can get those in your rig just like they did with ours. They can also match you up with the right cabling, the inverter, the charger, the solar controller, everything. Jennifer and I swear by our Battle-born batteries. They allow us to boondock off the grid. Check them out. Go to rvlifestyle.com/lithium. rvlifestyle.com/lithium.
Welcome back, and now it's time for the RV questions of the week.
And just a quick reminder, if you have a question or a comment about anything you've heard us talk about today, you can reach us at Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com. Mike and Jen at rvlifestyle.com.
This one I'm going to throw to you, Mike. Our RV is a year old. When do I need to clean and check the roof, and what do I do?
Well, it's a year old. It's time right now. We always recommend cleaning the roof of your RV at the start and at the end of every season. But if you're parked under trees a lot,
Especially pine trees with those pesky needles and the pine cones and that sap that can come down on your tree.
yep, if you're underneath one of those, or at least twice a year and more if you're under a pine tree, go up and clean off your roof. And usually all you have to do is get up there and spray it down with water. If it's stained or anything, lightly go over it with a soft bristled brush or a broom, and that's usually more than enough to clean it off the debris and make it look a little good. If you have solar panels, take care around them. What we've done is we put an old t-shirt, or better yet, a sweatshirt over a broom, and then kind of gently clean the panels off with water. As for checking the roof, look for cracked or missing caulk. Over time, caulk does dry and it does crack and it can peel away, and that leads to leaks. So you can replace those. You can put new caulk down. Use a good sealant. We recommend. I think the industry standard is pretty much Dicor 501, and we'll put a link in the description below for you. But you can pick that up. It's just a caulk, self-leveling Dicor 501. You can do it yourself. Scrape off the cracked caulk, clean off any residue, and then put down the new caulk. Just be careful up there on the roof.
If it makes you nervous or you have balance issues, hire a mobile tech.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And while you have a tech up there, have them check out and clean out your air conditioner as well.
Yeah. Your air filter, just like you do at home, you have to get the gunk out of there. You want to do the same thing. It's always, like say, you're 10, 15 feet, 13 feet up in the air. You don't want to fall off the roof. So be careful. All right. I got a question for you. This came into you and it says, this question's for Jennifer. How do you get your hair done on the road? Or do you even? It always looks good. I wonder if and how you find salons to visit on the road. Advice, please. We do a lot of long trips and I look pretty shaggy when I return. And that question came in from Marcy. So how do you do it?
So an easy way to do this is when you're shopping at a grocery store or just, I don't know, any store that you happen to wander into, a souvenir shop, if you see somebody behind the counter, a salesperson that you like the way their hair looks, women are very comfortable answering questions, and you say, I like your hair, I'm traveling through town, I need to get my hair done. Would you share the person that does your hair? That's an easy way to do it. So just got to keep your eyes open and look around and see who you think looks pretty good. And otherwise, a tip that somebody told me when that gray starts to come in, to take eyeshadow. You wouldn't want purple or red or pink.
How about
or something.
some black paint?
Hey, that could work.
A magic marker.
Well, magic marker could work too, but just take something, a little hairspray, and then color it a little bit. If it's really, you shouldn't listen. This should be girls only.
Hey, speaking,
or else you guys, you most of the time.
I can see a guy going up. Hey, where did you get your hair done? Some guy. What? I'm sorry.
Well, in case somebody hasn't noticed, women tend normally to use more words than men do.
Yeah, I'm always amazed at how women will just share everything, like total strangers.
You can stand in line and you'll know everything about that person if you have to stand there 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Makes us guys nervous to talk like that.
Yeah, you always get nervous. You think, what did you tell them?
Yeah, I do.
I'll come back and I'll know so much.
To be a little serious, though, you also plan out. Like, for example, we're going on a long trip in a couple of weeks, and you get your hair cut a week or two ago, and you timed it out so that you can get it taken care of, and then you do yours how often? Every 5, 6 weeks?
Usually every 5 weeks, but if we're going out of town, you might get your hair done with 3 weeks or 4 weeks. You do it sooner rather than let it really go a long time without having it done. But if you're going to be gone a couple months, 3 months, you have to find somebody to do your hair. And actually, COVID was a great time for people to let their hair grow long or let their hair grow out and give up on coloring and all that sort of thing. But most of us, we want to look what we consider the best that we can. And if that means for you that you want your hair cut and shaped, and if you color your hair and you don't want it a lot of gray showing, you're going to have to ask somebody, where do they get their hair done?
Okay. Well, Jennifer said it was girls only, and I should tell you that Jennifer will be doing an Ask Jennifer special live stream on our RV Lifestyle community. You find that at community.rvlifestyle.com. She'll be doing that Thursday, September 26th at 7 p.m. And you're going to be talking about what?
Prepping for an RV trip. So I guess this hair
You
prepping
can throw that in there.
could be part of prepping.
Yeah.
Get your hair done maybe at 2 or 3 weeks instead of your normal 5 or 6.
Prepping for an RV trip?
Yep, and packing and planning for a successful RV road trip so that you're not having to work all the time.
All right. That's Thursday, September 26th, 7 p.m. Jennifer, for girls only, I guess, at the RV Lifestyle Community, community.rvlifestyle.com. Thank you guys for the questions. We love getting your questions, and we invite you to send them to us, Mike and Jen, at rvlifestyle.com. Thanks for watching.
Happy trails.